Oh, hey, we're here. Oh, I hit a button, didn't I? All right, everybody. Thank you all for showing up to this. Wow. Robert, you believe this is the 52nd Fish Talk episode?
Are you kidding me?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So,
That's a
tonight,
lot.
our special guest is Mexicali Fishkeeper. He's from the
Good to
West.
have you here, buddy.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm allowed to be late, Lefty. It's my damn show. That's right. But, and y'all know my co-host, Tian Aqua, a.k.a. Robert.
Hey. How's it going, everybody? We're so happy to have you all here. Hope everyone is going to be having a fantastic 4th of July.
All right.
Had to get something ready here.
Okay.
Holy cow, where has this fella been? What's up, Jeff Rose? How you been, brother? Haven't seen you in a while. It's glad you're here.
Jeff Rose, man, good to see you. It's been a while, man.
But we'll go ahead and get the hellos out of the way. First one to come in is Bunny Viper. Hello. Then we
Hey,
got
Bunny.
Corey, Adorable Cali Aquariums. Mr. Lefty. Miss Patty. Susie Q. Matter of fact, she'll be up next, I do believe. And why are we always yelling? Nah, just because I feel like it.
And
We
Patty,
got
that is
Aquatics.
Patty, that is a good thing to say there. Always got to keep that in mind.
Oh, the hashtag? Yeah, yeah, it's funny. We also got Window Liquor number 5. Every time I say that name, I think of this one song. Thunder.
Snoz?
I was going to say, it reminds me of Super Troopers.
Yes, the snozberries taste like snozberries.
Yeah.
And we got Lori Monster Fish Gal. We have the Zen Ginger, TJ Autocross, and across the pond, Mr. Mark Sterelson, John McKenzie. Some more will come rolling in, and I'll just click and wave at them. That's what I do. I'm going to say this at the beginning and at the end of the live stream. I want to give everybody a reminder of next Saturday, be this Saturday, July 9th, is the second Fish Fam auction. It'll be at 8 p.m. It'll be myself, Robert, Vinay from Color Guppies, and Jason from Depths Unknown, a.k.a. Degenerate Fishkeeper, for people that still can't remember that he switched his name.
Do you know if Fisherman's going to be up with us too or no?
Well, I'll send it to him. If he shows up, he shows up. He's like our little gesture. Waiting for him to throw me a finger in chat or something.
Yeah. There's a Liquid Zoo, Matt, and Cichlid Aquarius, Mountain Greenery.
The U.S. Scraper in the house.
Hello, everyone. Good to have you all here.
All right. So, how many tanks do you have in your fish room?
I think it's 17 that are set up.
Yeah, with water in it. Yeah.
Yeah. 17 that are set up. And I guess one of those I could consider in my quarantine tank right now. But yeah, I think it's, let's see, it's 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. Oh, 18. I have 18. 18 up and running. And they vary in size. The largest one being the one that's directly behind me, which is the 150. And then.
Nice.
So
Wait,
it's
right above your head?
Yeah. Look.
Whoa, you crazy.
That one right there.
That's high.
Jesus, that thing's tall, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. I got to get in a ladder to be able to reach the top of it. A little step ladder. But that's my wife's tank. That's why it's the centerpiece.
Oh, yeah. You got to make the wife happy.
Hey, she lets me do all this stuff. That's the least I can do for her.
That's right. That's right, man.
That's like when the wife said, "I want a fish tank at work." I said, "I'll be over and set it up for you."
Oh yeah, you always do that. And the upside of it is you can probably start to get her. I'm hoping she starts taking a little bit more interest, and then we can be doing this together. That'll be fun. It makes it easier to travel.
Yeah.
I would like to say that, but that would probably be a bad thing for us because if we both got addicted to this, it would be awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just know it's going to cost some damn money. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But she is going to go to the Triple Crown with me this year, so that's cool.
Okay.
Speaking of the Triple Crown, isn't it coming up here soon?
Yeah,
It's coming up in like a couple weeks or so, ain't it?
Yeah, matter of fact, that is.
Say hi.
Oh, my.
Oh, that's what is it? Oh, dude, that's
He's one of those the mask from when the plagues were around.
yeah.
I think it's my daughter's. She likes Slipknot, and I guess it's one of the masks they wear. I guess that's the only thing I can assume. But say bye.
And
Uh-oh.
he'll be back. Kid must have hit the cord or something. But yeah, no, it is from the 27th of July to the 31st of July. So 3 weeks.
Sorry about that. He happened to wave his hand and hit the return button, and kicked me out.
Patty said, if you are interested in co-hosting, email Jason at
Am I back? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good. We hear you.
How come it's so low on my end? What happened? See if I can get this turned up.
Well, yeah, Lefty, that's the day everybody shows up to get settled in, because if you're driving, you can have a day of rest. But no, we all show up on that day. We're going to start partying that day. That's just all there is to it.
Heck yeah. Hey, you got to start it off right. I mean,
can you hear us now? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It got all messed up.
Yeah,
but I'm back.
When your kid left, it went out.
Yeah, it's my grandson. He was saying bye, and I don't know. He hit the return. Yeah, I think he hit the leave by accident, and it kicked me right out.
So what type of fish do you keep in your fish room?
I don't know if I have a type. I guess yes, there would be mostly community fish. I do have a couple of cichlids. Well, no, I have more than a couple of cichlid tanks. My biggest fish in the fish room are some electric blue acaras, and they're in my 75-gallon. And I have them with Buenos Aires tetras and some cories. And recently, I got 2 panda gars, and they're in there now. So that's what I have in there. And then my other cichlids are some Bolivian rams. I have a breeding pair that I'm trying to get them to breed. And I just recently moved them over to where I have my pleco grow out. Hopefully they'll grow there. I mean, it's big enough where they'll find a corner in there and hopefully breed. And the other ones are my angelfish. So those are the biggest fish. Well, I guess the goldfish too. Directly behind me, this one right here is a goldfish tank. That's a 65-gallon. But that would be the largest tank that I have. I mean, the largest fish that I have in my fish room. Then other than that, it's just your regular tetras. I have some lampies, some what else is in there? Some silver tips. Just general. Nothing too exotic.
You just like a big variety of fish in your room then.
Well, yeah. What I like are big aquariums with lots of fish in them. So I tend to go with the smaller, like guppies. I have a lot of live bears. I have just some. Well, now I have, I guess, 2 types of killies in my room. I have some least killifish that I recently got at a fish auction, and I have my Phineas Mentos. So those are the only killies I have so far. And I picked up a pair also of Australian desert gobies, which I've never seen anything like that. So those are kind of like the new kids in the block.
Yeah,
What are they called again?
Australian desert gobies.
Australian desert gobies. I'm gonna have to look that up.
yeah.
Write that down.
Hello there, Kenny.
Hey, Kenny.
Do you like target breed fish at all?
No, most of my breeding is just them being in the aquarium. That's pretty much it. Well, of course, guppies and platies that I have in the mollies, they'll do their own thing. But my mollies are in a species only tank, so that's all I have in there is mollies. The platies is the same thing. I have some sunset platies and the blue platies in there. And the guppies, well, I don't care where I put them, they're going to breed. They're going to breed, and I have, for example, in that Tetra tank that I have in there, I have guppies in there, and if they have fry, I guess it's survival of the fittest. So, but yeah, I don't do any. Well, that's not true, because what I do specifically bred was the bristlenose plecos that I have. I purposely bred them or set them up for breeding, to be exact. Other than that, everything else just kind of does their own thing, and they breed.
So, what how long have you been keeping fish for?
Well, I kept them in my teenage years for about 2 or 3 years, and then got out of the hobby. And I didn't come back in maybe until, I want to say, about 7 years. I think I'm going in 8 years now that I've been back. And started out with a little 20-gallon with some platies. This were the first fish that I had in that 20 gallon. And by that time, though, by the time I got back, I started out looking at videos on YouTube, and I was a little bit more methodical, I guess, in the way I started up this time around, because I was purposely setting up tanks for this fish I was going to keep. And I've kind of done that now since coming back. When I pick out a tank, if I get it, depending on what happens first, if I get a tank first, depending on the size, I kind of have an idea of what I want to put in there so that they can thrive. So
Right.
that's usually what I try to do: get them in a situation where they're going to not only survive but also be thriving in there.
So, what brought you back to doing it? Because I was kind of the same way. Whenever I was a teenager, I went to the military, so I stopped.
Yeah.
And then something brought me back to it.
Yeah. For me, it was just having time again. When I was a teenager, I was basically my last 2.5 years of high school, and what trying to figure out what it was that I was going to do after graduating. And then I ended up going to trade school up in Phoenix. Completed that it was like a 1 year technical training, and came back home after that. Started going to college for a little bit, and just got bored and decided to join the National Guard. Took off when did basic training. So once I started doing that, it just my time was consumed. So I got when I was getting ready to go for basic training, I kind of parted away with. I only had a 10-gallon tank with a pair of breeding convicts in there, and all their fry that were in there. So I was able to get rid of those and then take off and do what I was doing that. And when did basic training, got back home. The good thing of that is that it kind of gave me a little bit of structure, going through basic training and having a little bit more focus. Came back, started going to school again. Was playing ball for the college, and got done with my 2-year degree, and then got into an internship with one of the government agencies down here, and they helped me pay for the rest of my education. So I was able to get my bachelor's degree from San Diego State, and ever since then, I've just been working and having a family, kids. It wasn't until about you would say almost about 7 or 8 years ago when the kids finally started moving out of the house, and had a little bit more time, just to find something other than doing yard work around the house to keep me busy.
Right.
Listen, man, I hear you. I have a story, myself, but this is about you. But what I did, I started up. What year was it? I forget. I'm gonna have to look at this thing I have in my tank up there. Oh wow. Anyways, it was 2018. I started back into it, and it just helps, with like PTSD and stuff like that I have. But what's great right now is I got a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old. So they're getting into it. Like they got fish tanks in the rooms and stuff. So, that's an excuse for me, but I still let them pick fish out too.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole reason I have that goldfish tank. Is I have three grandkids that are about 6 years old, so they can kind of pick what they want, and I have a granddaughter who's 2. But when I was setting up this room, they've been curious. They pop in here all the time, and they like looking at the fish, and they ask me questions about them. But this right here is basically their tank. Each one of them got to pick out a goldfish, and that's what's set up right behind me. So that I kind of do this because, first of all, like you, I enjoy it. But if it interests them and it gets them curious in the hobby, well, it's you got to start them young.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And plus, too, I mean, when you got kids, it actually gives you a excuse to tell the wife, why that you need more tanks, because be like, honey, kids they want this fish, but you can't put this fish with this tank,
Yeah, no. The reason I have them is because they can't keep the tanks in their house, so I keep them for them. It gives them something to look forward to going to Grandpa's house.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things I like my kids being involved, they're the next generation. The more we get, young people in, the better, the hobby can be, and still keep these fish going.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
We got Vinosky and Bob Kaler showed up. So what if you had to pick out all the fish you had in your fish room, what's your favoriteest one that you have now?
Well, obviously the ones that I really enjoy are my Phineas mental killifish, just because they're not as common. And right now, I'm also really interested in seeing the gobies, the Australian desert gobies, because the male is really starting to color up now. It's kind of neat. It's yellow body with some deep purple colors in it. And I've never kept gobies. The problem with me is I've always been limited by the fish I could keep, because all I have that I've ever had available to me immediately is either a PetSmart or a Petco.
Yeah.
And in there you're going to find the very, the staples of the fish. Now that I'm kind of getting involved with some of the fish clubs, I'm starting to see some of these different species that I see, other people keeping, and it's like, oh, that looks so cool. I want to try that. So that's what's started giving me a little bit more access to some of those rarer species, I guess, rarer for me, because I don't get to see them on a daily basis.
Oh yeah,
right.
Dude, I'm the same way. The only thing I have is the internet. Like, you're fortunate enough to have a fish club, but it's not too far from you.
Well, I have to drive 3 hours, either go to Phoenix to do that or go to San Diego.
So
Oh,
you're
wow.
like me. I would have to drive about. Well, no, I could go to York, the CYC, the Cichlid York one that they have there, and I know I just chopped that whole name up. It's a good thing. Well, I ain't gonna get in trouble because I ain't part of the club, so it's okay. But that might be an hour. No, it's about 2 hours and some. So yeah, and that's one of the things. Like I love, yeah, CCYS. They had a swap. I said I ain't saying it. But yeah, it's one of the things. Like for me, whenever I found this hobby again, was I had questions. So I was like, wonder if YouTube has it. I mean, heck, I had questions about lawnmowers, so I wonder if YouTube has it. But wouldn't you be known? Now I got a fish room, so I went down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean?
Well, that was kind of my way back in. For the longest time, I think for about a year after discovering, the fish tube. And and the other day I was talking to my wife and I was trying to remember how I stumbled across fish keeping again. I don't remember that. What was it that I was looking for, or what made me want to get start looking again at because I've been watching YouTube for a long time. At the time, because I really enjoy cigars and whiskeys. That was kind of the stuff that I was watching reviews on whiskeys and cigars. Um,
I
and,
enjoy alcohol too myself. It's okay.
and I don't remember if it was a suggestion or maybe I typed something in. And for about a whole year, I kept toying with the idea of one day getting a tank. So by the time I got that first tank set up, well, I already knew about the nitrogen cycle. I knew that you could keep natural plants. That was I think that was really what got me sent down the rabbit hole with fish keeping, is because when I started coming around again, I noticed that people were keeping plants inside of tanks. And that was something totally new for me, because when I was doing it back in the late 80s and 90s, if they were around, they weren't around me. And so everything was either, like plastic plants or just, artificial decorations within your fish tank. So this whole new idea of keeping these little underwater gardens was what started attracting to me, because the tanks just look very different. And it doesn't matter what you put in there. Just the fact that you have something that's alive in there just changes the whole, perspective of that tank. And then I started noticing that people weren't using the colored gravel anymore. So they tended to look more like a natural ecosystem. So that's kind of what got me back into the hobby. And I guess because I started looking at Planetex is the reason why I didn't go with monster fish or big large cichlids, because I know they tend to move around substrates and stuff like that. And I always knew that I wanted to have plants in my tanks. And now that if you look around my tank, I don't think I have a single, even my quarantine tank has plants in it. It's a bare bottom tank, but it's a bunch of anubiases on rocks. I can't see a sterile tank. I need to have some life other than the fish that I'm keeping in there in them.
To me, whenever I see that, it don't make sense to me. The whole cycle and stuff. But I mean, if you have a sponge filter or something in there, it keeps it. But yeah, I agree. I have a hard time keeping an all blank tank just sitting around.
I'll start out with just a water in a box. But I keep looking at it, and it keeps. No, let me put this in there. And I've learned enough now that there's certain plants you don't need substrate for, and that's what I keep on hand. And I'm always rearranging my fish tanks. It's kind of what keeps me entertained. I'm constantly rescaping stuff. And plus, the more you do stuff, the little bit better you get at it. So I look at the very first tank that I set up, and I look at it now, and I go, ooh. I thought it really looked nice at the time, but now that I've had different setups, it's like, yeah, you can tell it's just getting back in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do a lot of aquascaping myself. I have done like two tanks. My 55 gallon, my first tank when I got back into the hobby, I just threw stuff in there. You know, I got this went and bought this big castle from Petco, and you know, I would love to redo it, but it can wait. It's doing it's good.
Patty said that she had different tanks before YouTube, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
No. I didn't glue the princess on there, so it didn't become a princess castle. I forgot. Hello, Science Gal. So you've been pretty much keeping back into the hobby about the same time I have.
Roughly around the same time.
Yeah. It was 2018 because that's when my buddy had passed away, and I asked his wife for his tank, and I dedicated it to him. And it just went downhill from there. It's crazy. It got me really, but I know for me it does a lot. You know, not only I love doing the streaming stuff, but there's times I'll come down here and sit in the basement and forget what time it is.
Oh yeah, I said in a previous stream is my wife knows if she can't find me either in the backyard or in the house, she knows just to come to the garage because that's where I have it set up, and you know, she knows. And the thing is, I can spend hours in here and not even realize it because I don't have any clocks in here, and I kind of purposely did that because I don't want to know. I don't want to know how long I've been in here or not. It's just kind of the time when I'm ready to go back inside, I'll go back inside.
That's a good idea. I mean, I definitely like that idea. You know, just going to the room and, you know, no clocks. You don't have to worry about nothing. And then just enjoy it and leave whenever you decide to.
Oh, yeah. And but yeah, I kind of like it because then once I close that door and I leave here, then I can focus on what I need to do inside, you know, with the family or whatever. So at first I wasn't sure if I was going to like this setup, but now it's just it's that transitioning through the door into this room kind of changes your mindset. And then once I leave here, I leave this behind and I go do what I need to do. So I'm not constantly going, did I forget to do this or that? Once I get out of here, it's because I'm ready to go back in to incorporate back into life, the real world.
Right.
So what fish have you kept that you, since you got back into the hobby, like I have mine, that I will never ever keep again?
Well, let me see. What everything that I've kept in here so far is, I think as I picked up the fish, I guess I'm kind of a hoarder, and I don't really get rid of them. If the ones that have been a little bit more, and I knew that going into it, are my tiger barbs, and they're kind of set up in their own tank for the same reason. But the other day I tried putting in some cories in there, and they wouldn't leave them alone, so I had to pull them back out. But I guess no, but I really do like them. So I don't know. I don't think I have any fish in here that I've kept so far that I don't enjoy. That's why they're probably still in my fish room. But cool. No, you know, I like them. I like them all, I guess.
I mean, there's some fish that I have gotten that, you know, I told myself I'll never keep again, but I'm not just going to get rid of them. Yeah. I'm going to let them live their life, and then, you know.
If, in that case, maybe the goldfish, because the goldfish are really in here because of my grandkids. Mm-hmm. You know, I've always seen them, and I thought they would really grow on me. I like them, don't get me wrong, but and I'm going to keep them as long as I can keep them. But once they're probably, you know, move on, I don't think I'm going to keep goldfish again. It's just that's as much as I like keeping plants in the tanks. that's one species that I really have a hard time doing that because they like to nibble on plants. What's the upside of it though? They're my duckweed disposal team. They love some duckweed,
Oh
and
yeah,
uh, and I have duckweed in most of my tanks, and they're the ones that help me get rid of it.
yeah. That's
I mean, I, there's a lot of people, that they have duckweed in their tanks and stuff, and like, it doesn't matter what they do, they can't get rid of it. But in my tanks, I've actually started out with putting duckweed in them, and then it just dies. I mean,
yeah,
I
Well,
don't know.
it could be a couple of things. I see your tank; they have a lot of surface agitation on the top.
Hmm. Yeah,
That water,
this one does. Yeah,
yeah, that'll for some reason duckweed doesn't take too well to having a lot of water movement. So if your tanks are set up that way, that's one of the reasons why you're probably not going to have any duckweed on it. They like more of a still surface or a lighter flow. Um, but you know, I don't know. I guess that could be a good thing unless you really want duckweed. I mean, there's other plants you could probably keep like frogbit or some dwarf water lettuce that are a little bit nicer and
yeah,
little bit more manageable.
yeah. Like frog bit now frog bit, I can grow the crap out of it. I mean, but I toss that stuff away like every single week. I mean, but I gotta, because like this tanker, before I set this one up, I had another one, and then that's the tank that I had the frog bit in. And but I didn't have as much surface agitation, and that stuff I'd have to toss it out like like once a week, and just get it like big handfuls of it, and it just keeps reproducing. But
Yeah,
I
that's
like it, because they get those big long
yeah.
roots, and then it kind of like gives it like a jungly, like I guess like a pond look. How just a bunch of roots and stuff hanging down.
yeah.
Well, I don't know what fish you're keeping, but it also makes for a natural mop, so they can lay eggs in them. So if you're trying to
Hmm.
breed fish, that's something really good. I also have a lot of hornwort that I float in some of the library tanks because it gives the fry somewhere to hide out, and then I don't have to worry about feeding fry food or brine shrimp because the infusoria that's growing within that those plants. Well, by the time I see my fry, they're pretty big, and then I can just feed them like I feed the other fish. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way I breed those guys.
That frog bit, a bunch of it I put outside of my ponds, and man, when you take some out, dude, the roots on it is like uh, just like 16 inches, tall or long on them. They're like super long. I'm like, geez.
Yeah. I know whenever, like, I know why I can't keep is because I have a lot of surface agitation in all my in all my tanks.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just like it that way because me, I don't like duckweed. I have one tank that has it in it, and honestly, it just stays in the corner because of the surface agitation. Which that's good enough for me. I just don't like it when it covers your whole tank. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it's a constant battle because you're trying to, especially if you're growing plants. I'm always trying to scoop it out. That's like I said, that's the upside of having these goldfish right behind me because I can take as much duckweed as I want, toss it in there, and that's all they eat. And their colors are very vivid, and I don't know if it's because that's all they eat. They eat just what they would normally eat, I guess, out in the wild. But I hardly ever feed them flakes or pellets or anything like that. All they usually eat is just duckweed. Once in a while, I'll throw a couple of like high protein pellets in there, but it's not very often. And I've never had any issues with them. I know they tend to be a lot of real problematic because they get a lot of intestinal problems. I guess because they're just eating the duckweed. They seem healthy. I haven't had any issues with gout on them. They don't overfeed. Uh, so I'm pretty that having the duckweed has made it real easy to keep goldfish for me. And my water always looks real clean too. So that's what I like.
That's good. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad plant to me. Like teacher, and you know what I mean. it's either you like it or you don't. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
one of them things, you know.
Well, I've been tinkering with different ways to try to feed duckweed to like my plecos and the guppies. And I actually once tried making like a Jello duckweed. It was a half success because I didn't use enough of the gelatin to keep it together.
Yeah.
But the fish ate it. I mean, it worked. I have to rehash my recipe, and because what I was trying to do, DIY rapashi basically is what I was trying to do, and but in principle the idea worked, and the execution I was a little off, but so I'm always trying to do something with it. I know it's healthy for the fish. The fish will eat it, so I try to use as much as I can from what I have in here.
Yeah.
You know those? I forgot the name of them. Well. I'm lying. I don't even know the name of them. But anyway, they're like a little bowl, and I don't know. I think they're made out of some kind of like granite or stone. Then they got this little stone thing, that
Okay.
that you put stuff
mortar.
in, would you mash it up?
Mortar
Yeah.
pestle.
Yeah, like if you got one of them, a person could probably make some sort of like duckweed or pashy out of that. Just get the duckweed and dry it out, I guess, and just mash it up. And
that people have done that. I've seen videos on it, and M&C said about adding it to rapashi. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing is, like I said, I'm kind of limited to the axis and stuff. So I watched a couple of videos of people doing their own fish food, but they incorporate protein in it, like shrimp or fish, and then they all blend it and make it and freeze it. So I ran with that idea, and also understanding that rapashi, the reason it becomes a gel is because it's got gelatin. So I got some of that non-flavored gel packs.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wasn't accounting for is that the duckweed, when I blended it, was going to become very liquid. So my ratio was off. It was too runny.
Oh.
So now knowing that, I know I don't need to use as much water and probably a couple extra packets of the gelatin, and I can have that rapashi food done. I just haven't gone back to doing it, but I'll try it again.
Rapashi reminds me of a baby poop. I mean that stuff just looks just like you got a kid. It's like surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, you ain't lying. It does.
And my understanding, it doesn't smell as nice either. I mean, it's just in all the aspects, it might as well just be that.
Yeah.
So you have this channel, Mexicali Fishkeeper. You also started up another channel.
Yes.
Would you like to explain that to people that probably don't even know about it?
Yeah. What do we have? Well, I have my own channel that I started, and started back towards the end of December, January. And in the process of doing that, as you guys all well know, you start creating content, and you start going on the live streams, and you get to know people, and you start finding people that share the same interest in you, and personalities kind of match up, and you make acquaintances. Well, that's kind of what happened, and I ended up befriending Stephen Rollins from Warrior Planet Tanks, and then just it started with the live stream. We kind of text back and forth, and then we started. It turned out that I had some fish that he had been looking for, and that's how we started actually talking on the phone. And once getting to know each other, we both come from military backgrounds. We're both fathers, and we had a lot of things that we have in common. He's an expert on plants, and I like plants, and so it just made it easy for me to have conversations with him, because at the same time as I was learning, I kept picking his brain and little things that I was trying to do around here in the fish tanks. And in talking like that, we decided that it'd be cool if we did a and we started live streaming. And what right off the bat, what I told him is, well, it's because the idea was we'll do one weekend on your channel, and then on the other, I said it's going to be too confusing for people to keep it straight. So we both agreed on doing a channel just, and it's really just where we stream. That's really what it is. And it makes it easy if people are trying to find our stream to be able to just go to this channel. It's called Fish, Plants, and IMAS. The idea behind the channel is obviously talk about the hobby, and also me and him, because we both speak Spanish. We found that a lot of these streams that are out there right now, a lot of the information is in English. Well, we open the door up that if there's people that have questions and they want to ask them in Spanish, then they can ask us, and we'll try to answer those same questions. And if what we'll do is, if they ask it in Spanish, we'll read it back to them, tell them what it is, and tell you guys what it is that they're asking and what we're saying. To this day, we haven't had that happen, but that's kind of the reason why the name of the channel is Fish, Plants, IMAS. That IMAS was intentional because it means and more, and we did it in Spanish. So there's people out there that maybe even though they speak and understand English, their first language is Spanish, and they feel more comfortable communicating in technical terms to be able to do it in Spanish. So
That's a great ideal.
So-
Man, I love that ideal. Wow.
So that's what that is. And on there, we don't really have any content other than what we've been playing with is because we'll take topics and break them down in our live stream. One of the ideas we're playing with is just taking snippets of that same stream with information on it, and probably posting that as content on that page, so that you don't have to be looking for the entire. If there's certain information you want, you don't have to watch the entire stream. You can watch these little like shorts that'll be in there with that information, and that's what we're working on now that we've had three streams. We just had our third episode, and so anything that we feel that could be useful, especially to new fish keepers that that make that information accessible. So, and that's what we're doing, and we go every other week, and that was kind of on purpose, just because I really have a crazy work schedule. I do shift work, and I work 3 shifts, so I do days, swings, and nights or graveyard. And right now I'm doing my graveyards, and so it just allowed that, because I know eventually it's going to fall where I'm doing a swing shift and I'm not going to be able to stream on that. If Steve needs to go by himself, it doesn't have to happen that often.
That's cool.
So
I like the idea behind that. I didn't know that part about the Spanish thing. I really do like it. That's a good idea. Because there are times where there is a language barrier, and it's great to have that option out there.
Yeah, it's just because I know people within, even here in where I live in Yuma, that they'll reach out to me and they'll ask me, and just because they know that I speak Spanish, and they don't feel comfortable asking on the Facebook group, so they'll send me a direct message, and it'll be just in Spanish, and I'll get back to them. Also, the whole reason I even got started on this channel was because I was actually trying to start a fish club down in Mexico, and that was kind of, I guess it's on hold for right now, because we were gearing up to start that right prior to the pandemic starting up, and once that started, it kind of put a kibosh on everything. We had our first official meeting as soon as the sanctions were starting to getting lifted, and you could have small groups of people gathered outdoors. But down in Mexico, they're probably about a year behind of what's going on here. So it wasn't until probably maybe halfway through last year, that they lifted all restrictions. So they're just kind of a little bit further behind. So I guess it's getting time where we revisit that idea and try to see if we can find somewhere to gather. But because there's no president of a fish club. It's an entirely new concept in the city of Mexicali. It's kind of hard to convey what we need. We need to find a place where we can gather and hold the meetings and the structure of the meetings. And for me, it's been a learning experience. That's why I also decided to join a couple of the fish clubs to try to see what the dynamics are.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to do a carbon copy, but to have a structure, have an idea of how a meeting is conducted, what fish clubs do, and be able to kind of have a guide and adapt it to what they want to do down there.
Yeah,
What's interesting?
you got your own. You got your ingredients. You can make your own thing out of it. Your
Yeah.
way that like you said, that'll work down there. That's pretty awesome. I
So,
like it.
and then, but the one thing that's been surprising to me is that for some reason down there, and granted, we're out in the desert. If you look on a map, the Imperial Valley, Yuma, Arizona, well, just in general, all of Arizona, all the lower part of the state, is all desert. But they have a big affinity for saltwater tanks down there. I mean, almost everybody, I would say, if you had to do a split, it's about 60% saltwater keepers and about 40% freshwater. So saltwater tanks are huge down there, and that's also kind of been a limiting factor for me because I like them, but I don't need another rabbit hole to go down, and it's one of those where it's really time consuming, expensive. Well, the saltwater keepers tell me it's not that expensive. I guess the expenses is the startup.
Well, yeah, because the fish.
The fish, the equipment, you're having to, well, you don't have to have sumps, but once you start getting into some of the larger aquariums, if you're doing saltwater tanks, it helps to have a sump. You got to have skimmers, and you have, protein skimmers, and this is just the whole, you're dealing with pumps, you're dealing with, the salt. It's just,
you're exactly right. And my thing is this: whenever I do something, I get bigger, go home. So it's going to be expensive because I'm not going to start with a small tank with that like I should.
and it's not the fish is not so much the problem. Is I know how I am and the tanks that I've seen and the reef tanks. That's the problem. And you start getting into coral and reefs. Oh man, that gets expensive super quick. So that's the only reason why, as much as I like them, and my wife loves those tanks, but it's just kind of like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. Maybe down the road. I'm never going to say never. But right now, I've had access to starting up a saltwater fish tanks, and as tempted as I am, I know I don't want to do it right now. It's not that I don't want them. I just know I'm not in a situation to be able to do it.
Hey, I know exactly what you mean there, because of I feel the exact same way. I mean, there's a store that's probably about 20 minutes from me, and that store is actually it's pretty much like 90% saltwater, and then it has like a small section of freshwater. And man, they got some beautiful tanks in there with like the corals and everything. And then like, every time I go in there, there's a buddy of mine that works there, and he always tells me, like, "Hey man, so when we're gonna get started on your saltwater tank?" I'm like, "Damn, dude, you're killing me."
He's trying to twist your damn arm.
He is. I mean, he is. I mean,
Well,
like every time I go in there, and I go through that little bitty section with the freshwater, he goes, "Hey man, check this coral out that we just got in. It's awesome." I'm like, "Come on, man."
well, just the colors you can see and the variations on them. It's just what they always remind me of was growing up, and you always had that one friend that had the black light with those psychedelic posters and the different colors on them.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you look at those reef tanks, that's what immediately comes to mind when I'm looking at them. Just because of the colors, you get these like almost fluorescent colors, and the blue light that they have to. Well, that's the other thing. Lights for saltwater, for reef tanks, are expensive. I'm on the cheaper side of things. I run nothing but shop lights in my tanks. You know those Walmart specials, the 48-inch
Yeah.
shop lights, and they're good enough for what I'm growing. And so I just I I can't imagine having that conversation with my wife and telling her, hey, you know what? I'm gonna set up a saltwater tank, but I need to buy a light that's like $800. She'll be like, what?
That's like just going out and just buying us with this whole setup I have, putting the fish in it, you know, just for a light. Jesus.
Yeah, just for lights. And she'll be like, no.
Well, if you want that look with the coral tank, but if you're just doing just the fish, you can use the same light, the shop light.
But you know, we're all lying to ourselves when we say we're just going to set it up with rocks and fish. That's just a lie. That's just us lying to ourselves to convince ourselves to do it. Because once you get in, you're going to start with, oh, let me do a little anemone in here, and then a little, mushroom coral, or some of the real simple stuff. Before you know it, you're in the deep end, and that's well, at least that's my case, and I already know that. So that's the only reason I go nope. And I've been in a situation where they were giving me an entire setup, and I almost pulled the trigger on it, but I'm glad I didn't because I knew where I was going to be at, and we already had some frags that were growing out in it. And then I started thinking, okay, I need to buy lights, I need to buy salt, I need to buy this. Then I said, no, that's okay. I appreciate the thought, but I'm gonna have to pass. So I passed on it.
I do gotta admit those. Like I've seen some of those really nice saltwater sumps. The ones that's got that acrylic, and then the panels are like red and black and whatnot. They got the different colors and stuff. Some of those things look pretty cool. I mean, I'm like, golly. Then you see the price and it's like $4.99, $99. I'm like, what?
You know how many guppies I can buy with that?
I'm like, man, that's a nice sump. I mean,
I can feed my entire fishing for a year with that much money. No,
I have nothing against saltwater and nothing against the saltwater keepers. It's just I know what I'm like you. I know I'd be the same way.
Well, now that I'm into the hobby this long, I start realizing, because every time I would watch somebody showing their saltwater tank, well, I understand why they always go for like the biggest tank they can fit, and then it makes real sense real quick because you start looking, but that's the only tank they have, and so it makes it real difficult because of the expense that goes into doing saltwater. That you really don't get a whole lot of MTS like you do with freshwater. Freshwater, you can get a nice 20-gallon long for $20, and be able to keep a lot of fish in there, a lot of species of fish within that tank. And in saltwater, that's why they get the big tank, because they want to keep several species, but all kind of contained in one space. But you look at those setups, and they're easily over $1,000, but they look gorgeous. I mean, they're just, but I'm more of I like to have my hands in different tanks at all times. And I think that's probably the other reason why I haven't got saltwater.
I think I will eventually, and it'll just be one, because for me, I don't understand the whole chemistry behind how to breed those fish. Okay, it's easier for me if I wanted to breed a fish, to do it with freshwater as opposed to saltwater. For me, I know there's a lot of people out there that have done it, and that's great, but I just don't. I know I wouldn't be able to do it. At least
I think for me, it's more the fear of the learning curve. If I'm going to do saltwater, I'd have to start with the Fowler tank, because it teaches you the basics. Because it'd be real sad that you get like that. That was really the other reason why I turned down that saltwater setup they were giving me, because it would have broke my heart if I would have killed everything in it, because I wasn't ready to care for those for their needs, because they do require a little bit of a special different, there's other minerals you need to put in there and stuff like that. And I'm nowhere near ready to do that. I know I could learn, but I'd hate to learn on the fly because then it's you're sacrificing what's in there.
You know, see, like on a bunch of those corals and stuff, like you actually have to like feed them too.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you know,
Come
you
on.
got to get this. I forgot what it's called, but that store that I was talking about, that's 90% fresh or saltwater, and this store, they do a whole lot of um, saltwater like breeding. You know, like they breed like a bunch of different species of clownfish and all that stuff, and like they got these. I forgot the name of, but it's like bottles of like bacteria and stuff. You know what I mean? That you put in the tank that is just for the corals and to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, and then me where I'm at, also not having access to the supplies on a regular basis, it's just kind of it just makes it a little bit more difficult. But I think what will end up happening if for some reason we move or whatever, and I decide to break down the fish room, I think that's when I'll probably just get that one saltwater tank because it'll be a display tank in the house, and
Yeah.
that'll fulfill my need to have fish. But right now, I'm going ham with the different species. Now that I'm getting introduced to other species, that's what's got me real excited right now. Like I said, just recently I picked up some least killifish, which they're kind of like well, they're new to me, and I like them. I think they're pretty interesting. They're not the prettiest fish. They're not the most colorful fish, but I've never kept them, so I like them. Those
They're,
Australian goldfish.
they're a native fish down there in Louisiana.
Yeah,
So that there ain't not like I'm gonna be trying to get some goodies and lemias here sometime, and I like that because it's a natural fish.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, and then recently I've been stumbling upon more and more American native fish, and that's why I'm always watching what ABC is doing because he has a lot of darters and shiners and stuff like that, which are those are all new. I've never seen those fish because they don't you don't find them at a Petco or PetSmart.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw your last video where you did your unboxing. That's why I remembered. I think it's really good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of him, if you guys in chat would like to get some of them, he's got a bunch of them still. You just
Yes,
gotta
he does.
hit him up.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm loving them. They're still juveniles, which is fine because I don't have the 40 breeders set up. I got a new really awesome fish that's going to be coming hopefully next week. We'll see if everything lines up if I get them, but I'm eventually going to get them, and they're going to go in the same tank because they're all cold water fish.
I
So
think I know which one you're talking about.
you do, and
Yeah.
and then I got another 40-gallon breeder because of Chattanooga Ed. I want to get the Petricola Synodontis now. There's a small Synodontis, and you look some videos up on them catfish. That's another thing. I love catfish, so
Okay.
it falls in my territory, but they're very active. I mean, my corridors and I have some aspidoras, and I might be getting see. Oh man, this is getting deep now. I just remember getting some more aspidoras, but
You got what, Skipper?
what?
Oh, never mind. There was a glitch on my end. It was cutting in and out. I couldn't hardly hear what you were saying.
But
My bad.
all right. Suzy Q's going to be starting up here in probably 30 seconds. So a couple of things I want to say. First, I want to thank you, Mexicali, for coming on to the show today. Robert for being my awesome co-host, and all the mods in the chat for posting links and stuff for me. I appreciate it. And everybody that showed up to watch the stream. One of the things I want to tell you, and I did say at the beginning, is on July 9th, we're going to have the second go-around of the Fish Fam auction. For some of you who don't know what that is, it's an auction that there's like 5 of us involved. Vinay Color Guppies came up with it to get back to the Fish Fam to bring the breeders out that we didn't know about. Like there's so many, and there's so many more to discover during this process. So that's going to be the 9th. Also, we're going to the breeders. We're bringing 3 of them back, which is going to be Foxy and Peplin, Aquaballs, Aquarialife. Jess from Maine's Tail Furs and Fins is going to join us, and so is Alex from the Secret History of Living in Your Aquarium.
Awesome.
I'm surprised I remembered all that. But that'll be at 8 p.m. on Saturday. And like Paul said in there, don't forget about the 50% off sale at the Petco.
So everyone, go get your tanks while they last.
Feed that MTS.
Yep.
Yeah. Feed that addiction. This is the wrong support group if you're trying to get out of it. But all right, everybody, thank you all for showing up. Everybody have a good night. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.